Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission today is super practical. We are giving you the English toolkit you need to confidently handle one of the most common real-world situations there is, taking a taxi.
It sounds so simple, but it really isn't.
Not at all. And this isn't just about being a tourist. This is for anyone, traveling, living in a new city, or even just needing to get to an appointment on time. It's about logistical fluency.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Because whether you're heading to the airport or you're just late for a meeting, the language involved, the logistics, the politeness, the problem solving, it's so much more than just saying your destination.
And the source material we're diving into today is essentially a complete blueprint for this. It's a structured lesson that breaks down the entire experience step by step.
Right, from the moment you're standing on the curb to when you're paying the bill. It's perfect for anyone who just needs that high-impact language you can use under pressure.
Exactly, when you're under pressure. I love that the source material kicks off with this little anecdote. Someone realized they needed a taxi for a dentist appointment, and it just hit them.
Moment.
They got in the car and suddenly thought, wow, there's so much vocabulary and so many phrases I need to know right now. It's not just take me here. It's about luggage and traffic and how to pay.
And that's the key, isn't it? It moves it from just a simple transaction to a real negotiation of time and space.
For sure. And think about when you need a taxi the most. You're already stressed, you're running late, or you've just landed at the airport with two massive suitcases, and the thought of the subway is just a nightmare.
Or, and this is a big one, you've been working late, it's dark, and taking a licensed taxi is just the safest, most sensible option to get home.
In all those cases, clear communication is directly linked to your efficiency and, honestly, your safety.
100%. When you can communicate clearly, you cut down on the risk of getting lost, of misunderstandings about the price. It just makes everything smoother and safer for everyone.
Okay, so let's break this whole thing down. Phase one, we're on the street, we need a ride. Where do we even start? The source outlines 3 main ways to get a taxi.
And the terminology is key for each one. So the first method, the classic movie scene method, is hailing a taxi.
Right, to hail. That's a very specific verb. So what does that actually look like in practice?
It's pretty straightforward. You stand on the side of the road, facing the traffic, and you just raise your hand.
Just a hand up.
A clear, confident hand in the air. Making eye contact with the driver helps too. It shows them you're serious and gives them time to pull over safely.
And what about the old cliche of, putting 2 fingers in your mouth and whistling really loud? Does that actually work?
I mean, you can try, but the source suggests it's way less reliable, and honestly, it can feel a little awkward. Raising a hand is just the universal, clear signal, no confusion.
Okay, so hailing is option 1. What if you're somewhere really busy, like a major station, where hailing isn't practical?
Then you look for a taxi stand. Or in British English, you'll often hear it called a taxi rank.
And that's a designated area.
Exactly. It's an official spot, usually clearly marked, where taxis line up and wait for passengers. You'll find them at airports, train stations, big hotels, places like that.
The advantage there is you'll get a cab eventually.
Right. The trade-off might be a bit of a wait, especially if there's a long queue of people.
Which brings us to the third way, the modern way, the apps.
Yes, ride-sharing apps have completely changed everything. And the source points out a few huge advantages for a language learner. First, it's just so convenient. You put in your location, your destination, no confusion.
And the biggest advantage, I think, is the price.
The biggest one, by far. As the source says, no surprises with the price. You see the cost up front before you even book. That eliminates probably the single biggest point of anxiety with traditional taxis.
That is a game changer. But okay, let's go back to the street. Whether you're hailing or at a taxi stand, you need to know if the cab is even available. How can you tell?
It all comes down to visual cues. The most common one all over the world is the light on the roof of the taxi.
The light. Okay, so what's the rule?
If the light is on, the taxi is for hire, it's available. If the light is off, it's occupied.
Occupied, meaning it already has a passenger.
Exactly. It's not going to stop for you, so don't even try.
Are there any other signs to look for?
Sometimes, yeah. You might see a little sign in the windshield that says for hire or available, but really the light is the main thing. And of course, if you can see people in the back seat, well, it's definitely occupied.
Right. Common sense. Okay, let's talk about luggage. This is a big one. If I have a couple of big suitcases, how do I communicate that? Especially if I'm hailing a cab and can't specify in an app?
This is such a critical point. If you're hailing, you have to do a quick visual assessment. You see a tiny car pull up and you have 3 giant bags.
Yeah.
You might just have to wave it on and wait for a bigger one.
And if you're calling a
So
company,
you have to be explicit. You need to say something really clear.
like what? What's the best phrasing?
Something direct, like, I have 2 large suitcases and a carry-on. Or if you're on the phone, you can ask, can you send a vehicle that's big enough for 3 people with luggage?
So you're prompting them to send the right type of car, like a minivan or something.
Exactly. You want to solve that problem before the taxi even arrives. The last thing you want is to be standing on the curb arguing about whether your bag is going to fit in the trunk.
Okay, so we've secured the ride, the taxi is here, the door is open, we're in phase 2. The actual dialogue. What's the very first thing you should say?
Before anything else, just simple politeness. A clear hello or good morning. It just sets a respectful tone for the whole interaction.
And then stating the destination. We need to be direct, but not demanding.
Right. You're not giving an order. The
Yeah.
best way to phrase it is as a polite request. The source suggests something like, could you take me to? And then the address or place name.
So, could you take me to 42 Park Street, please?
Perfect. Or, could you take me to Central Station? Using could you and adding please makes it a request, not a command.
What are some other good alternatives?
You could also say, I need to go to the airport, please. Or, can you drive me to the hospital? They all work. They're all polite. And most importantly, they are crystal clear.
Okay, but what if you don't have an exact address? This happens all the time. You know the general area, but not the specific street number.
Then you communicate the bigger picture first. You'd say something like, I'm going to the downtown area, or maybe I need to go near the university.
So you give the driver the general zone to aim for.
Exactly. The driver knows the city. Once you get closer to that area, they'll probably ask for more details. They might say, okay, we're near the university. And that's when you give the more specific landmark.
Like, it's the coffee shop next to the library.
Precisely. You narrow it down as you go.
Now, another really common scenario. You need to make a quick stop on the way.
Ah, the detour. This has to be negotiated. Again, you frame it as a polite request.
So what's the magic phrase?
Something like, can we make a quick stop at the pharmacy on the way? Or, would it be possible to stop at an ATM for just a minute?
And what if you need them to actually wait while you run inside somewhere?
Then you have to be very clear about that. Could you wait for me for a couple of minutes? I just need to grab something from the store.
And here's the most important thing to remember, the golden rule of taxis.
The meter is always running.
Always. Even when the car is stopped.
Most drivers are fine with a quick 1 or 2 minute stop, but you are paying for that waiting time. And that's a perfect lead-in to talking about the meter itself.
Right. We're on our way. Phase 3, the journey. Let's define these 2 essential terms, the meter and the fare.
Okay, so the meter is the actual device in the car. It's usually on the dashboard. Its only job is to calculate the fare.
And the fare is simply the price, the total amount of money you have to pay at the end.
Correct. But what's important to understand is how the meter calculates that fare. It's not just based on one thing.
It's based on 2 variables, right?
Yes, exactly. It's calculating based on both the distance you travel and the time the journey takes.
So if you're stuck in a huge traffic jam and not moving at all.
The meter is still ticking up. It's charging you for the time. That's why a short trip in heavy traffic can sometimes be surprisingly expensive. Understanding that prevents the sticker shock when you get the final bill.
It's also really important to make sure the driver actually turns the meter on at the start of the ride.
Yes. If they don't, you should say something.
What's a polite but firm way to do that?
That's a simple question. Excuse me, could you please turn on the meter? Or even just, is the meter running? In most places, it's the law, so it shouldn't be a confrontational thing to ask.
Okay, let's switch gears to the human side of things, the conversation. The source material uses a great word for some drivers, chatty.
Chatty, yeah. Very talkative. Loves a good conversation.
And for a language learner, this can be an amazing opportunity, right?
It's a fantastic, low-stakes way to practice your English. You get real, spontaneous conversation.
What are the go-to topics for taxi small talk?
The 2 universals are the weather and the traffic. They're safe, they're neutral, they're relevant.
So you could just say something like, nice day today, isn't it?
Perfect. Or if it's bad traffic, you can say, wow, the traffic is terrible this morning. The driver will almost always have an opinion on that.
And it's a great way to just, build a little rapport.
Exactly. But what if you don't want to talk? Maybe you need to work, or you're just tired.
That's a good question. How do you signal that politely?
It's more about nonverbal cues. You can be polite, answer the first question, but then maybe open your phone or put in some headphones. Give short, One-word answers. Most drivers will get the hint.
Okay, now for a much more delicate situation. You think the driver's going the wrong way, or at least a longer way.
This is tricky. The number one rule here is do not demand, ask. You have to assume they know something you don't, like maybe there's an accident on your usual route.
So you frame it as a question, not an accusation. What's the best way to word that?
You use polite conditional language. For example, I usually go down Main Street. Is that faster? Or maybe, would it be quicker to take the highway?
So focusing on is that faster, or would it be quicker, makes it about finding the best solution together.
Precisely. You're inviting their expert opinion. You're not challenging them. It completely changes the tone of the interaction.
Now, what about urgency? You are genuinely late for a flight or a big interview. How do you ask them to hurry up without being rude?
You have to give them the context. It validates your request.
So you'd say,
You'd say something like, I'm running a bit late for my flight. Is it possible to go a little faster? Or, I have a really important meeting. Could we please hurry if it's safe to do so?
adding that if it's safe part is smart.
It shows respect for their professionalism. And the one thing you should never, ever say is just.
Drive faster.
Exactly. Don't just bark, hurry up at them. It's rude, and they already know the speed limits.
Yeah.
Your job is just to explain why time is so important on this particular trip.
All right, the journey is almost over. We're approaching the destination. This is phase 4. Money matters. We need to give those final precise directions.
And precision is key here. You don't want them to drive past your stop. So you use landmarks. It's the big red building on the left. Or you can stop just after those traffic lights.
And what's the phrase to signal stop right here?
The most common and useful phrase is drop me off. You can say, you can drop me off here, please. Or if it's immediate, a simple right here is perfect, thank you.
Let's just define drop off. It's such a core piece of vocabulary.
To drop someone off just means to let them out of the car at their destination. So you could say, can you drop me off at the corner? It's the standard, polite way to end the ride.
Okay, the car is stopped. Now for the payment. The driver will tell you the total. What will that sound like?
It'll be a simple statement, something like, that'll be $18, or your total comes to $22.50.
And payment methods. This is always changing. What's the protocol?
The golden rule is to ask first if you're not using cash. Mourner or taxis take cards, but you can't assume. So just ask, do you accept credit cards? Or, is it okay to pay with Apple Pay?
It's just polite to check.
It avoids that awkward moment at the end where they say cash only and you don't have any.
Oh, that's the worst. Okay, let's get into the most complicated part of this whole transaction, tipping.
This is where you really need to know the local culture, because the rules change dramatically from country to country.
Let's start with the big one, the United States.
In the U.S., tipping isn't really optional. It's a huge part of the service industry culture, and it's expected. The standard is about 15 to 20% of the fare.
15 to 20%, that's a significant amount.
It is, and it's something travelers from other countries are often surprised by.
Now let's contrast that with the United Kingdom.
In the UK, it's much more relaxed. It's common to round up the fare to the next convenient number. So if the fare is, say, £9, you might give them a £10 note and be done. It's a nice gesture, not a requirement.
And then there's the other extreme from the source material, Japan.
Right. In Japan, you generally do not tip at all.
At all.
At all. In fact, trying to leave a tip can sometimes cause confusion or even be seen as a little bit rude. Excellent service is just considered part of the standard price.
Wow. So you really have to do your research before you travel?
You absolutely do. But there's one phrase that's really useful in cultures where you round up.
And that is?
Keep the change.
So let's break that down. If the fare is, say, $18 and you hand the driver a $20 bill,
you just say, keep the change. It's a simple, clear, and polite way to give a smile tip without having to do any complicated math.
Perfect. Payment is done. Tip is handled. What's the last step?
A simple, polite farewell, thank you very much, or thanks, have a good one. Just end the interaction on a positive note.
Okay, that covers the perfect, smooth taxi ride. But what about phase 5, when things go wrong? Let's talk about that horrible sinking feeling when you realize you've left something in the back of the cab.
It's the worst. Your phone, your wallet. The first thing to do is contact the taxi company's lost and found.
Lost and found. Let's define that.
The lost and found is the specific department that handles items passengers have left behind. It's their job to try and reunite you with your lost stuff.
So when you call them, what do you say?
You need to be clear. and give them as much information as possible. Start with, "Hello, I think I left my phone in one of your taxis this morning. Can you help me?"
And they're going to need details.
Lots of details. The time of your trip, where you were picked up, where you were dropped off, and a description of the item. If you paid by card or used an app, that's even better because there's an electronic record of the trip.
But the best advice here is preventive, isn't it?
Absolutely. The single most important habit you can build is to always check the back seat before you get out. Every single time. It takes 2 seconds and can save you hours of stress.
Such good advice. Okay, what about the other kind of problem? Making a complaint. The driver was rude or the car was dirty.
You have a right to complain. These are professional services. You call the company's main line and state your purpose clearly. "I'd like to make a complaint about a driver."
But how do you identify which driver it was?
This is crucial. Every single licensed taxi has a unique number, a taxi number or license number displayed inside the car. It's usually on the dashboard or on the partition.
So your job as the passenger, if you sense a problem, is to get that number.
Yes. Discreetly write it down or just take a quick photo of it with your phone before you leave. When you call to complain, you say, "My complaint is about taxi number 4E72. And that gives them exactly who to talk to. Companies take these things very seriously.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit for our final phase, phase 6, global perspectives. Because not all taxis are the same, are they?
Not even close. The experience can change dramatically depending on where you are in the world.
The source material gives a couple of great examples of iconic taxi services.
Yep.
Let's start with the London black cabs.
The London cabbies. They are legendary. To get their license, they have to pass this incredibly difficult test called the knowledge.
And that involves what exactly?
It involves memorizing, and I mean memorizing, something like 25,000 streets and thousands of landmarks in London. It's an unbelievable feat of memory.
So what does that mean for the passenger?
It means you almost never have to give them directions. You just tell them the destination, and they know the fastest way to get there instinctively. It's a very different level of professionalism.
And then you have the equally iconic but very different New York yellow cabs.
The yellow cabs. They're a symbol of the city's energy. Their drivers are professionals, of course. But it's less about a formal memory test and more about just surviving the chaos of Manhattan traffic every single day.
There are even aesthetic differences around the world.
Oh, for sure. Think of Bangkok, where the taxis are all these bright, vibrant colors, pinks, greens, blues. Or in Mumbai, where you have the classic black and yellow cars.
Now let's talk about the single biggest cultural shock for many travelers, negotiating the fare.
This is a huge one. In many parts of the world, taxis don't use a meter, or the meter is broken.
So what is the absolute unbreakable rule in that situation?
You must agree on the price before you get into the car.
Before you even open the door.
Absolutely. You lean in the window and ask, "How much to go to the airport?" Or, "What's the price to the main square?"
And what if the price they give you sounds way too high?
Then you negotiate. Politely. You could say, "Oh, I was thinking you'd be closer to $15. Is that possible?" The key is to have a reference point.
And how do you get that reference point?
You ask a local beforehand. Ask your hotel concierge or someone at a shop, "What's the fair price for a taxi to this location?" That way, when a driver quotes you a price that's 3 times higher, you know you can confidently negotiate.
Finally, let's touch on the idea of shared taxis.
Right, or collective taxis. This is a totally different model. It's common in many parts of the world. Basically, multiple passengers going in the same general direction all share one vehicle.
And what are the pros and cons of that?
The pro is that it's very, very cheap. Much more economical than a private ride. The con is that it takes a lot longer because the driver is constantly stopping to pick people up and drop them off along the route. You're trading time for money.
Wow, we have covered so much ground here. Let's do a quick review of the absolute most critical vocabulary to lock it all in.
Good idea. Let's make sure these phrases are ready for active use.
Okay, first up, the action of getting a cab on the street.
That's hail a taxi. For example, it started to rain, so we had to quickly hail a taxi.
The total price of the ride.
The fare, as in the fare from the hotel to the airport, was about $30.
And the machine that calculates that price.
That's the meter. You'd say you have to make sure the driver turns on the meter.
The verb for letting you out at your destination.
Drop off. For example, "Can you drop me off at the next corner, please?"
That feeling when you don't have enough time.
Running late. You might say, "I'm running late for my appointment, so can we take the fastest route?"
The simple, polite way to leave a tip from a larger bill.
keep the change. The fare is $18, you give it $20 and say, keep the change.
And finally, the department you call when you leave something behind.
Lost and found. As in, I had to call taxi companies lost and found about my umbrella.
Those are the absolute essentials.
And remember, if you're ever in a situation where communication is difficult, simplicity is your best friend. Forget long sentences, just airport, please. Short and direct always works.
So after this deep dive, you really have the complete toolkit. You know the vocabulary and the situational awareness to handle everything from hailing the cab to navigating tipping cultures to dealing with problems.
And it really comes down to what we said at the beginning. It's about more than just the words. It's the etiquette, the politeness, the awareness of the unspoken rules. That clarity and respect will get you a long way anywhere in the world.
Absolutely. So for our final thought, we have a little challenge for you, the listener, to really make this vocabulary your own.
Think back to the most interesting or funny or even stressful taxi ride you've ever had.
And now, try to retell that story in your head using the language we learned today. Did you have to hail a taxi in a storm? Was the driver really chatty? Did you have to argue about the fare because the meter was off? Did you get dropped off at the wrong place?
By connecting this new vocabulary to a real memory, you'll make it stick in a way that just memorizing a list never could. It's about applying the knowledge.
So give it a try, have a safe ride next time you're in a cab, and thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Take care, everyone. Happy travels.